two small things that completely have like fully changed my relationship and my life and my emotional well-being are these things. Welcome to my channel. I'm Katja, and there are two wolves inside of me. One has autism and one has ADHD. So come and join me and let's talk about how these things interact. So today I want to talk about going from pushing myself to living my absolute best life. Obviously, and of course, there are ways for me to continue to grow, but for now, my life has changed, like done a complete 360, even more than that, 420. I don't even know. 420, baby. And I just want to share some of the ways that my life has gotten so much better as a person who's extremely sensitive, literal minded, has a short attention span, and struggles with relationships, all the AuDHD stuff. So, the first thing that's super important for me to talk about is I have a background in trauma. I'm not a mental health provider or specialist, but these are things that really, really worked for me. So, the first thing that changed things is I started to get honest with somebody about what was going on with me. So, I had things like feeling like I was floating in a room, having like things that I would call panic attacks now, but at the time just felt like feeling really dizzy and like couldn't tell where I was and just like having a really hard time functioning. Um, so I told somebody about those things. He told me that those things reminded him of depression. That was the first thing that I had to do that really changed things for me. That led me on the path of going to therapy. I started out just going to somebody that somebody else I knew went to. My therapist then kind of diagnosed me with trauma, PTSD, and she put me into a trauma group. When I was in the trauma group, it was a group of four women, and where there was a facilitator who's a specialist in trauma. And she used the IFS, internal family systems method of dealing with trauma, where you deal with yourself as having different parts, like there are younger parts of you that are maybe like stuck in certain periods of time. So once I started learning about trauma and PTSD in my therapy settings, I started getting interested in that like on the side, and read The Body Keeps the Score, which honestly I found a bit triggering. It's pretty intense. They have like a lot of like just like case studies and stuff that can be really dark. And when I was in a really traumatized state, it was hard to read that stuff. But at the same time, I was so interested, so curious. And one of the biggest things that I learned from that book that I've held with me is the emphasis on yoga and somatic healing. So I started getting really interested in yoga. I started watching and doing following Yoga with Adriene on YouTube, and that's just like yoga for free in my house. Eventually, I stabled out a bit, but I still had a reliance and a dependency on alcohol and weed specifically. I was also taking antidepressants and that kind of medication, which I continue to take, but my reliance on other substances was kind of reached an end point, and I came to a point where I ended up getting sober, and um, that journey is a whole journey in of itself, where I had to learn how to do life without those coping mechanisms. And it was just so worth it, but really challenging. And again, I relied on the support of others by going to support groups that were free in my community. And if you're curious about that, you can reach out to me, and I can tell you more about that. Well, I kind of reached a plateau at a certain point where I was sober, I was more emotionally stable, but I had really low income, low drive. I had no money skills, and I was constantly burnt out. And I would pick my skin all the time. And I've learned that picking your skin can be a stim, and that makes so much sense. And So to get out of this period of my life, things had to change. It was a big like growing moment. I learned about money from Tori Dunlap, who is the author of Financial Feminist. She has a podcast too, and an Instagram where she gives a bunch of money tips. And it's like she like helped me learn like from the start, like from nothing, of how to save money, how to like think about money, how to deal with the emotionality of money. So like she taught me about some of the psychology around money, where we each have our own relationship to finances and just the feelings that come with money. Like it could be like scarcity, it could be like entitlement, it could be like fear, it could be like anger, it could be like disgust, all these things that can come up when we think about money and like the idea of making money or saving money. I worked through her book, and the first exercise is where I had to talk about my first money memory. But I learned about my relationship to money, and then I learned some basic tips about how to save, how to just like invest in myself. And I literally never knew that your money could make money. I was like so afraid to like use credit cards, stuff like that, which, yeah, I mean, like it's good to be like, to be careful, but I was like really leaning on the side of like no movement at all from being careful. So I finally opened up a high yield savings account that makes money as I put money into it. And that really like helps me have like a safety net. Like it's called my emergency fund. So I just put 10 to 20% of my like each paycheck into that, and it really helps me to have like just like a growing like reserve that I can use like if I ever have car problems or medical issues or something like that. And then she also showed me how to open up a Roth IRA so I can save for retirement, and I put also 10 to 20% into that from each paycheck. So that helped me have a lot more security. So I had been picking my skin a bunch. What I ended up doing is I bought these peach slices. They're called peach slice acne spot dots. So instead of picking my skin, I started this new routine of like taking a shower, washing my body and my face, and then putting the spot dots on to pimples that were coming up. And so it kind of felt like a new like ritual for me that was less aggressive towards myself, and it was challenging to stop picking, but it helped me to have like a replacement behavior. So this was also a big growing moment because I had to start saying no to people's plans that they had. So I had all these friends that are very social. I'm social too, but I have a certain bandwidth that other people don't have, because of my sensory difficulties and my social batteries, stuff like that. I had to start saying no to that stuff because it just was too much of a push for me, like too challenging for not enough reward. I started having to have stronger boundaries with that stuff. It was really hard. It felt like I was just letting people down all the time. And I think I was letting people down, but I think it was a vital part of like the unmasking experience that helped me to have more time that was allocated for me. It's like, have you ever heard of like, don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm? That's what it felt like. I felt like I was setting myself on fire just to make somebody feel like that they knew I liked them. Does that make sense? And so I had to kind of let that stuff go. It was really hard. As like I had a little more time, I started getting more honest about what my interests were. I started noticing where my curiosity went because I started having a little more energy. And I noticed I was really interested in plants, and I was really interested in drawing. I knew I was interested in art, but like whenever I get too busy, I just don't have enough time. And same thing with, well, I just didn't even know how interested I was in plants. So I just kind of started following that. Once I became honest with myself about what my interests were, because I had more time to notice what my interests were, an opportunity came up that was like a total like God shot, godsend type thing. Where I went to this wedding with my boyfriend, and I met somebody who Turned out she did the flowers for the wedding. And I was so curious, like, oh my God, how did you do that? How did you get into gardening? How did you learn? Where did you learn? Blah, blah, blah. Asking all these questions. This is why it's kind of nice to sometimes like let yourself like get carried away with my interests, with my special interests and stuff like that, and be honest about it. Cause sometimes you find people that are like on the same wavelength as you. And we really, really hit it off. And at that point, I was like, man, if I lived here, I would ask you for a job. And she was like, I would hire you if you lived here. And I was like, oh my God, good to know. And at the time, like my boyfriend and I, like both of us were becoming really, really, we're like homebodies, and we weren't really enjoying our or making use of what LA has to offer. Like LA is such a creative hub and it's such a fun social place, and we were not using it for what it's meant for. And both of us, I think, I know for me, I was really craving having a little more quiet time, having a little more outdoors time, having smaller communities with deeper relationships. And so coming out here to Jersey at this specific part of New Jersey, I was just like totally enamored right off the bat by like how green it was, how beautiful it was, and I really wanted to move here. And flash forward, like I did get to move here, and I got that job with the gardening job. I knew for me that having some physical labor and challenge and being outside was really good for me as long as I'm like nourishing myself, taking water breaks, going to the bathroom, stuff like that. Like it is better for me than like having a social challenge or having like a really like having to get through a really boring day. So for me, that was a really great change for me. And we did end up moving to New Jersey, as I said. And so we ended up having like we have much quieter lifestyle, which gives me so much more capacity to enjoy the things that I'm curious about. So this leads me to another plateau that happened where I was having some issues in my personal relationships where I was like getting really still like having big challenges and getting over. I didn't know it was overstimulated at the time. At the time, I just thought it was like really erratic emotionally, really irritable, and just like problematic in those ways. And that's when I started looking up like RSD, like rejection sensitivity dysphoria, literal thinking. My partner has ADHD, so I looked up like what are relationships like in ADHD, and I started really finding more and more information about autism. It overlapped with like me meeting somebody who was autistic, and just helped me to kind of re-look into this whole idea. And at that point, I got really curious about solutions, really interested in finding out more, but also like learning and learning and learning, but also wanting to know like, what do you do about this stuff? And that brings me to like having some more accommodations. And so, two small things that completely have like fully changed my relationship and my life and my emotional well being are these things. So these glasses are from Isle Rim. I wanted some blue light glasses that really helped like create a better color tone on everything, and I started wearing them all the time. So I wanted these orange tint glasses, and so I just looked up orange tint glasses on Amazon, and I found these ones because I wanted some that were a little bit fashionable, just because it helped me with my self confidence. And then I also got the famous loop earplugs, but and then I love having this like little chain. Oh, there's a knot in it. I love having this little chain because it helps me to not lose them. And like it really changed my life. It changed my life because now I could hang out with people in places that were hard for me to hang out in. I could um just calm things down for myself when I was feeling really overwhelmed. Yeah, all that paired with having more knowledge about autism and ADHD, I was then able to like talk about it, like be like, "Oh, I would really love to know the plan before I say yes to it, just because it helps me ease my anxiety." Stuff like that. Learning how to like leave a situation if I need to, which I had been working on, but it was harder in my like intimate relationships, and being like, "Okay, like trying to be kind when I'm setting a boundary is a challenge, but I have to learn and I'm practicing, and it's much better now. It's great because I have like understanding now about why I need to like hold boundaries, and that it's helpful for the other person in the long run too, because I'm going to be less cranky and mean. And so I'll be like, okay, I'm feeling like I need to go to the other room just because it's a little loud in here. And then if they want to hang out in the same room, I could be like, okay, well, I'd love to stay and hang out in the same room, but could you turn the volume down or use your headphones? And that just like, that changes things a lot. Like, cause I can wear my headphones and my earbuds all the live long day, but at a certain point, if things are just really too loud, then they're just too loud, you know? So that's really good. That's good for me too. The communication aspect. The last little tip I'll give is that having like easy meal type stuff. So like having like little yogurt drinks and or jerky sticks and stuff has been really helpful for me. Like just having easy snacks to keep myself nourished and like less on the brink of disaster. So that's been really good for me too. Like to eat those Vermont jerky sticks, which I'll set a link to, and I like Chobani like yogurt drinks. They're just like helpful to get a little protein and keep me from totally freaking out all of a sudden without noticing. So yeah, those are a few tips, and I really hope that it helps somebody. So, yeah, if you're curious about any aspects of those things, just leave me a comment. I'd love to respond to you. I love engaging with your comments. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. I'm learning every day about ways to improve my channel and my content, and so please let me know if there's anything specific you want to see, and give this video a like too because it just helps me out. If you're curious about any of the things that I mentioned that were helpful to me, like product wise, I'll just have all those links down in the description, and you can use my little code there and get some for yourself to see how they work for you. And none of them should break the bank. So I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon.